One Piece chapter 1057. Now, we can safely say that this is more than likely the end of Wano, based on several things that happened in this chapter, very obvious things, and of course the title chapter name, which is the final curtain. As you guys know, Wano was following a scheme of opening acts, and it seems like the ending of Wano does fall in the third act, so Act 3 was the final curtain. But this was a crazy journey. Wano has been one of the longest arcs in the story thus far, and I believe we were about 150 plus chapters into this arc, and some of the greatest things we've ever witnessed in One Piece happened in this arc, right? The highest of the highest peaks in One Piece happened here, so it's been great all around. Now, granted, there has been a lot of downtime in Wano. Some places did feel a little bit stretched out, you know, some things didn't meet our expectations, but again, that's normal. You know, Oda can't satisfy everybody. I think he did a decent job at keeping things together. Now, there are definitely some things that were skipped over towards the end here, towards the finale, that I think I will dedicate another video for. But overall, I think Wano was pretty good. But again, before we keep going, guys, I'd appreciate it if you dropped a like on this video, subscribe if you're new here, and hit the bell if you want to get notified for future videos. Definitely helps me push out more content. But let's start from the beginning. Now, this chapter for the most part is a farewell chapter that we get in most arc endings, and it usually follows a very similar scheme of, you know, the Straw Hats saying goodbyes to the allies at the end, and that's what we got here. And in this case, it confirms a lot of speculation that we've been thinking about in terms of who is going to join the crew, right? And of course, the most obvious one at this point in time is if Yamato is going to join the crew. Now, you guys probably know my thoughts on Yamato and what I think about her joining the crew, and I've said this in many chapters before this. I was always 50-50 on Yamato joining the crew. I wasn't sure if she was going to join, because in the previous chapters, Oda was making it too obvious. There was too many signs of her wanting to join the crew, but I didn't think Oda was going to go for something that straightforward, right? So I was left in the place of limbo where I was like, I don't know if she's going to join. Now, I was more on the side of her not joining just because she didn't fit certain requirements that we see with the other Straw Hats, right? Now, one of the more interesting things about Yamato and what makes her an oddball in terms of joining the crew is that she was introduced about halfway into this arc in the mid-raid of Onigashima, so she didn't have as much build-up that we see with the other Straw Hats, right? Most of the other Straw Hats and how they joined, the introduction was for the most part at the beginning of the arc, right? And there was a heavy emphasis on that character. Now, I'm not saying that Yamato didn't have an impact in this arc. She definitely had an impact because of Ace. There's several things you can tie back to Yamato, right? But it wasn't to the level that we see with the other Straw Hats, right? Even Jinbei had Fishman Island, and then we had Whole Cake Island. We had a lot of things with Jinbei where we were satisfied with him joining the crew. But with Yamato, it feels a bit too quick, or I guess unexpected. And the way that Oda made this more and more obvious throughout the arcs, with her saying that she wants to ride on Luffy's ship, you know, in the beginning of the arc, made me even more doubtful that she was going to join, because usually Luffy invites said individual into his crew, not the other way around. So that was already a red flag for Yamato joining. And something else that also bothered me, and I guess a lot of people in the community, was something that stands within her character. Yamato, for the most part, doesn't have a character. She is pretty much a replica of Odin, or she tries to cosplay Odin, and she doesn't have a sense of individuality yet. And that's something Luffy really desires in his crew, right? Everybody is different in the crew. And if Yamato is replicating Odin here, she would take a very similar position of also replicating Luffy, because Luffy and Odin share a lot of similarities, right? So with Yamato, it's not that her character was necessarily bad, it's just that she doesn't have individuality, and that's something you need to have to be on the Straw Hats. Everyone is different from each other. And we do get a confirmation in this chapter that Yamato does not join the crew, at least for now, right? And it goes back to her saying that she wants to go on a journey in Wano and explore Wano and understand more before she goes out into the sea. And I think that's just her wanting to find herself. And again, it goes back to the individuality thing, right? So again, with Yamato, I feel like she needs to find her own character, and then after some time she can definitely come back on the crew, as Luffy does say that whenever they're ready, he's going to come for them. So as of right now, the Straw Hats are staying as they are. Now, apart from that, we do also get some heartfelt moments between Momonosuke and Luffy. Initially, he was pissed off at Luffy for not saying goodbye and saying goodbye to everyone else but them. So Momonosuke was pretty pissed and pretty much ran to the port to see Luffy and was looking for answers, right? So it looks like he attacks Luffy here, but in reality, he didn't just want to separate from Luffy, right? Because they had this long journey, this friendship that they built up, and of course, you know, Momonosuke being a kid, again, we have to realize that Momonosuke deep down inside is still an 8-year-old, so it makes sense for him to cry here because Luffy had the biggest impact on him throughout the course of this entire saga with the Yonkos, right? Because we've been with Momonosuke for a very long time. So yeah, this was a really great moment with Momonosuke and Luffy, and of course the anime I feel like will definitely make this a lot better, again with the OST and the ambience, and it's gonna be a great moment in the anime. And yeah, we definitely cannot forget the flashbacks either. But again, for me personally, I think Momonosuke has been one of the more solid characters in this arc, but that's just me personally, just because of the struggles that he had to endure, you know, as an 8-year-old, right, going into war against the Yonko. Like, that's insane. And so seeing Momonosuke's come up here is incredible. But again, Luffy did say that he was going to come back for them whenever they're ready to join, right? So that is definitely a possibility in the future that we do see Momonosuke and Yamato on Luffy's ship, right? Because again, Momonosuke is a key part to the whole story, right? So we'll definitely see more of him. Now, of course, at the end here, we do see Luffy give his flag to Momonosuke, and of course, this is him marking Wano as his territory, and that if anybody comes here to fight the people of Wano, it essentially means that they are fighting the Straw Hat Pirates. They are fighting a Yonko's crew, and they are gonna beat their asses. So we're seeing the Straw Hats leave their marks as they progress through each island, right? And in this case, it's more powerful because Luffy is now a Yonko, and so that flag means a lot, right? This is no ordinary pirate crew. This is a Yonko's pirate crew. So if you do mess with that flag, you are messing with the power of a Yonko, right? So that was great. We'd also see them take off with Kid and Law, with them going their separate ways. And again, it's always a competition with these guys and them always getting pissed off at each other. You know, it's always great to see that, right? It's the typical interaction that we see between Luffy, Kid, and Law, right? And I am definitely excited to see what progress they're going to make moving forward, given the accomplishments that they accomplished in this arc, right? It's definitely insane how far these three have come, to the point where they're each rocking a 3 bill bounty, right? So definitely looking to see how each of them are going to progress in their journey moving forward, because now we're pretty much in the end game, so it's going to get real serious. Now we do close off the chapter with Hiyori sort of recounting her experience and then sort of rewriting history to what it truly was, right? And the effects that Orochi had on this nation, the Kurozumi specifically. And here we're seeing a new tale being brought forward, a tale that is seemingly a parallel to Odin being boiled, and that is that the Kurozumi were meant to be burnt, as Kurozumi means charcoal. Now there's a lot to be talked about here, but I'm not going to talk about it in this chapter. But I will say there was definitely more nuance to who Orochi was and how his circumstances made him the person that he was. So Hiyori saying that the Kurozumi were meant to be burnt definitely leaves a bad impression on her, but I think what Oda was going for here is just a parallel to Odin, right? Odin was meant to be boiled and the Kurozumi were meant to be burnt. But again, what sort of separates that is that Odin's name was used specifically and not the Kozuki name. And in the case of Orochi, it's his clan name that is being used. And I guess this is just because it's a family related thing, right? These people have been nothing but a curse to Wano. And because Hiyori experienced this for 20 years, we're seeing that anger build up here. So again, it makes sense for Hiyori to be pretty pissed off here, but it's definitely more nuance. There's more of a conversation to be said here in terms of Orochi's origin and his character. But that was pretty much it for this chapter. I would say it was a very decent farewell chapter, and I will say that I definitely did enjoy Wano. But now it's finally time to move on to a next arc, and as of right now, we're currently in the dark as to where we're going next. A lot of people think Albath, a lot of people think Vera. There's a lot of speculation going on right now, so it makes things even more exciting. But again, the final curtains have now closed on Wano, and we are at the end of an amazing journey, and we will see what happens next. But what are your thoughts on Wano overall, guys? Definitely comment down below what you guys think, because I'd like to see what people feel about this ending and the arc, and what are your overall opinions. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this video, guys. I'd appreciate it if you dropped a like on this video, comment down below what you guys think, subscribe if you're new to the channel, hit the bell if you want to get notified for future content. You can follow me on Twitter at Ferrospace. But it is fair, guys, and I will see you folks later. Peace.